Dear soul, do not let the heavy silence of this moment break your spirit. We see you sitting in the quiet, carrying the weight of a connection that feels like it is slipping through your fingers, grain by grain like sand that you are desperately trying to hold in cupped palms but cannot stop from falling. We hear the unspoken questions echoing in the chambers of your heart, reverberating off the walls of your chest, in the stillness of the night, when the rest of the world has gone to sleep, and you are left alone with the enormity of what you are feeling. We hear those questions, even when you have not yet found the words to speak them aloud, even when they live only as a dull, persistent ache beneath your ribs, a low hum of confusion and grief that follows you from room to room, from morning to night, from one sleepless hour to the next. Why have they pulled away? Why does the distance between you feel like it is growing wider with each passing day, stretching into something vast and cold that you do not know how to cross? Why does the person who is supposed to know your spirit better than anyone else on this earth, the person whose laugh you know like your own heartbeat, whose silences you once understood better than most people understand spoken language, why does that person now look right through you, as though you are made of glass, as though you are a stranger who wandered into a story that does not belong to them? These questions are not small. They are not the ordinary questions of ordinary heartbreak, and we want you to understand that, from the very beginning of this message, what you are experiencing is not the simple, linear grief of a connection that has grown cold through neglect or incompatibility, or the slow drift of two people who have simply grown in different directions. What you are carrying in this moment is something far more layered, far more spiritually complex, and the fact that you cannot explain it with the ordinary language of human relationships is not a sign of your confusion. It is a sign that what is happening between you and this person exists on a plane that is deeper than words, older than the bodies you currently inhabit, and more significant than even the most profound human love story. The truth has been hidden from you, shielded by the veil that separates the physical realm from the divine. That veil exists not to punish you, and not to deprive you of understanding, but because there are truths that the human mind, in its current state of evolution, can only receive in fragments, and in the language of feeling rather than fact. But today, the heavens are parting in a way that is specific and intentional. This is not a general message cast outward into the universe like a net. This is a precise, targeted communication delivered directly into the space of your awareness, because the moment has come for you to know what is truly happening, and because you are ready, even if you do not yet feel ready to receive it. Your soulmate is intentionally avoiding you right now. They are not drifting. They are not simply busy or distracted, or caught up in the ordinary demands of their life. There is an active, deliberate withdrawal happening, and you have felt it in your bones. Even when you have tried to convince yourself otherwise, even when you have tried to find rational explanations, even when you have told yourself that perhaps you are imagining things, that perhaps you are being too sensitive, that perhaps the distance is something you have somehow caused, that instinct you have, that deep knowing that something is wrong, that something has shifted in a way that cannot be accounted for by circumstance alone, that instinct is not your anxiety speaking, it is your soul's perception, and it is accurate. But here is what the heavens need you to understand with absolute clarity, because without this understanding, the pain you are carrying will continue to compound in ways that are entirely unnecessary. Their withdrawal is not because they have stopped loving you. It is not because the sacred contract written between your spirits, before you took your very first breaths, before you entered these bodies, and forgot the fullness of who you are, has been dissolved or broken, or rendered void. They are running, not from you but from something that is happening inside their own perception, something that has distorted the way they experience your presence, something that has taken the image of you, and twisted it into something frightening and unfamiliar. They are running because they are terrified. They are running because lately, when they look at you, your face no longer looks familiar to them. When they gaze into your eyes, they do not see the home they have been searching for all their lives. Instead, your face looks like that of a complete stranger. Someone they cannot place, someone their body does not recognize, someone their memory has no record of, and that experience is so profoundly disorienting that they do not know what to do with it except retreat. Imagine, for a moment, what that must feel like for them. Imagine looking at the person you love most in this world and suddenly being unable to recognize them. Imagine the horror of that, the vertigo, the sense that reality itself has become untrustworthy. Imagine the panic that rises in the chest, when intuition says one thing, and perception says something completely contradictory. They know you, some part of them, the deepest, oldest, most essential part, knows you the way a river knows ocean it is traveling toward. But something is blocking that knowing from reaching the surface, preventing it from translating into the recognition they need, in order to feel safe with you, in order to move toward you instead of away. This is happening because a heavy, dark energy is actively blocking their vision, and this is the piece of truth that the heavens most urgently need you to receive today. In the higher realms, we watch the beautiful, luminous threads of light that connect your heart to theirs. It is a golden cord, and we use that word deliberately, not merely as metaphor but as the closest approximation in human language, for what actually exists between the two of you. This cord is radiant. It pulses with a light that has its own warmth, its own rhythm, its own frequency, and it has been there since before either of you had names in this lifetime, since before either of you had faces or hands or voices. It is as fundamental to the fabric of your existence as anything that has ever existed in your life, and it is utterly unbreakable. No force in the earthly plane has the power to sever it. No amount of confusion or avoidance or distance can dissolve what was woven into the structure of both your souls before time began, but recently, a dense, fog-like energy has rolled into the earthly plane, settling heavily around your soulmate's perception, and the nature of this energy is important to understand if you are going to navigate what comes next with wisdom rather than fear. This is not a punishment from the universe, it is not karma paying out a debt, it is not the consequence of anything you have done or left undone. This dark energy is a frequency that exists in the lower realms of the earthly plane, and it is drawn like all frequencies to that which resonates with it. It is drawn to fear, to unhealed wounds, to the places in a person's heart where old pain has calcified into armor, and your soulmate, for all the light and love that lives within them, carries within them the accumulated wounds of their past, places where they were hurt and never fully healed, places where they loved and were betrayed, places where they opened and were met with rejection, or abandonment, or indifference. This dark energy acts like a distorted mirror when your soulmate attempts to look at your face, What this shadow does is intercept the image before it can be processed clearly. It warps what they see, it takes your features, your expressions, your presence, and it runs them through a filter of every wound they have never fully addressed, every fear they have never fully faced, every story they have told themselves about love, and what it always eventually does to them. The result is that instead of seeing you, the pure, loving soul they belong with, the darkness forces them to see a projection of their own deepest fears. They see someone dangerous. They see someone who will eventually leave. They see someone whose love is conditional, whose presence is temporary, whose intentions cannot be trusted. And because those projections are being laid over the image of someone their soul actually recognizes and yearns for, the dissonance is staggering. It creates an internal experience that is so overwhelming and so confusing that the only rational response, from within the limited perspective of their human mind, is to create distance. They are navigating a profound spiritual blindness, and they do not even know it. This is perhaps the most heartbreaking dimension of what is happening between you right now. They are not making a conscious choice to wound you. They are not sitting somewhere, fully aware of your worth, and your love, and the sacred nature of your connection, and choosing to reject it. They are genuinely lost the confusion. This dark energy is creating in their heart is overwhelming, and it is made more overwhelming by the fact that they cannot name or explain it, cannot point to a reason for their withdrawal that makes logical sense, cannot explain to themselves why the person they love feels suddenly like someone they do not know. Their intuition whispers constantly that you are their home. Deep in the part of them that exists beyond thought, beyond wound, beyond the accumulated stories of their human experience, they know you. They feel the pull of the golden cord, even when the fog is thicket. Even in their most confused moments, there is something in them that orients toward you, the way a compass needle orients toward north, automatic, persistent, beyond the power of the mind to override. But then their eyes open, and what they see is a stranger. What their wounded mind tells them is danger. What the dark energy projects onto your image is everything they have ever feared about love, to protect themselves from the overwhelming friction between what they feel in their soul and what they perceive with their eyes and their mind. They have chosen to retreat. They are hiding in the shadows of their own confusion, hoping that the disorientation will fade on its own, hoping that if they simply put enough distance between themselves and the source of the confusion, the clarity they are desperate for will eventually come. They are unaware that the blockage is spiritual in nature, unaware that the answer to their confusion does not lie in distance, but in the willingness to descend below the level of perception and trust the language of the soul. You must understand, dear soul, that this dark energy is not a reflection of your worth, nor is it a punishment from the universe, nor is it evidence that the connection between you and your soulmate is less real, less significant, less eternal than you have believed it to be. If anything, the opposite is true. The presence of this interference is itself a kind of testament to the power of what you and this person carry between you. Often, when two powerful souls are destined to come together and create an immense shift of love and light in the world, when their union is meant to be catalytic in ways that ripple outward, far beyond the two of them, the lower frequencies of the earthly plane mobilize to interfere. Darkness does not waste its energy on that which is small or inconsequential. It targets that which threatens it most, and a love that is rooted in soul recognition, in divine orchestration, in a contract written in the highest realms, is precisely the kind of love that the lower frequencies of this world fear most, because when two people of your spiritual caliber come together in the fullness of what they are meant to be, to each other, the light they generate is extraordinary. It has the power to shift not only their own lives, but the lives of everyone they touch, and by extension, the energetic fabric of the world itself. The darkness seeks to isolate you before that can happen. It thrives on your doubt, feasting on the anxiety that rises in your chest when you see them walk away. It feeds on the heartbreak that floods through you when they look past you without recognition, when messages go unanswered, when the warmth you remember has been replaced by a coolness that feels impossible and wrong. It wants you to believe that you are unlovable, that what you felt between you was a delusion, that the recognition you experienced was nothing more than the wishful thinking of a lonely heart. It wants to reduce the magnitude of your connection to something ordinary and dismissible, because if you believe that, you will stop fighting for it in the spiritual realm, and that is where the battle is truly being waged. And equally, it wants your soulmate to believe that the connection was nothing more than an illusion, that what they felt was projection, that the pull they experience toward you is not to be trusted, that walking away is wisdom rather than spiritual capitulation. This is the enemy's strategy, and naming it is the first step toward refusing it. Though this separation feels like an agonizing wilderness, though it feels like wandering in a desert, without a map, without water, without any certainty that the other side of this pain will ever arrive, the heavens want you to know with every fiber of your being that nothing is outside of divine orchestration. Nothing, not the silence, not the avoidance, not the heartbreak you are carrying right now, not even the interference of this dark energy. All of it, every single element of what you are living through in this season, is being held in the hands of something infinitely wise and infinitely loving. The divine does not make mistakes. It does not misplace its children or allow the threads of their destiny to become permanently tangled. What feels from within your human perspective like chaos is from the higher perspective an intricate weaving. Every thread placed with purpose, every moment of darkness serving a function that will one day be visible to you in its full beauty. This period of avoidance, as excruciating as it is forcing something in both of you. It is forcing both of you to stop relying on the physical world to validate your spiritual bond, and this is a lesson that your union absolutely requires, if it is going to endure and flourish in the way it was designed to. So many connections between souls who love each other deeply are built, at least in part, on a foundation of physical confirmation, on the reassurance of a return text message, a warm look across a room, the consistency of someone's presence in your daily life. These things are beautiful, and they are not wrong, but they are not the foundation. They are the decoration on the surface of something that must be rooted far deeper, if it is going to survive the storms that life inevitably brings. Your soulmate cannot rely on their human sight right now. They are being forced, through the profound discomfort of this spiritual blindness, to develop a different kind of seeing. They must learn how to see you with their soul, rather than their eyes. They must learn to recognize your energy signature, the unique warmth of your spirit, the quiet but undeniable pull of the divine cord that runs between you, even when their physical senses are offering them a completely different story. This is not a small learning. This is one of the most significant spiritual developments a person can undergo. The capacity to trust the language of the soul, above the language of fear and perception, and it can only be learned in conditions that require it. Think of it this way. You do not learn to navigate in darkness while the lights are on. You do not develop spiritual sight while physical sight is working perfectly well and giving you everything you need. The very conditions that feel most unbearable to you in this moment are the precise conditions required for your soulmate's most essential growth, the growth that will make them capable of being the partner you deserve, capable of remaining anchored to you through the inevitable difficulties that any deep love must eventually face. And for you, dear soul, this is a sacred invitation, one of the most significant you have ever received, to step into your highest and most sovereign power. When you see them pull away, every instinct in your human body is to chase, to send one more message, make one more call, create one more opportunity for explanation or reconnection, to beg, in whatever language is available to you, for answers that the other person is not currently equipped to give, or to sink into despair, to collapse into the grief of it, to allow the darkness's whispers to take hold and convince you that what you feared most about yourself is true, that you are, at your core, someone who cannot be chosen and cannot be kept, but the heavens are calling you to do the exact opposite of both of those responses. They are calling you to stand still. Not the stillness of defeat, not the stillness of someone who has given up or turned to stone, but the profound, rooted, luminous stillness of someone who knows exactly who they are, and does not require another person's recognition to confirm it. This is the stillness that is more powerful than any pursuit. This is the stillness that speaks louder than any message you could send, that radiates more warmth than any gesture of reaching out, because it comes from a place within you that is unshakable and uncontaminated by the panic of the moment. Ground yourself in the absolute certainty of who you are. This is the work that this season is asking of you. Not the work of convincing them, not the work of trying to clear their fog from the outside, but the deeply interior work of knowing yourself so completely, so unconditionally, so without reference to their response to you, that the darkness quite literally has nothing to grip. The darkness works through your doubt. It works through the places in you that are not yet certain of your own worth, the places that look to another person's acceptance as proof that you are lovable, the places that collapse when the mirror someone else holds up to you suddenly goes dark. Every moment you spend in this season, doing the work of truly knowing yourself, is a moment that dismantles the darkness's strategy, not just for your own sake, but for the sake of the connection itself. The darkness cannot alter the truth of your destiny. It does not have that power, and it never has. It can only delay the perception of it. It can throw fog over the path, but it cannot remove the destination. It can distort the mirror through which your soulmate sees you, but it cannot dissolve the golden cord that runs between your hearts. It can whisper lies into the silence, but it cannot speak louder than the voice of the divine. When that voice has a willing, open soul to speak through you this time of silence, not to mourn a loss, because this is not a loss. We want to say that again with all the emphasis the heavens can offer. This is not a loss, it is a pause. It is a sacred interval between movements, the way a great piece of music sometimes falls into silence between its most powerful passages, not because the music has ended, but because what comes next requires the listener to be ready, to be still, to be capable of receiving it fully. This silence is preparing both of you. Use it to clear your own energetic field. Use it to examine the places within yourself that still need healing, the wounds you carry from your own past that, if left unaddressed, could create their own distortions in the connection, when the time comes for the two of you to find each other again. Use it to raise your vibration, not as a strategy to get them back, not as a spiritual technique in service of a desired outcome, but as an act of love for yourself, as a commitment to living from your highest self, regardless of what any external circumstance is doing. When you raise your vibration, something remarkable happens in the spiritual realm. The light that radiates from your soul, the light that is your essential nature, and has always been your essential nature, begins to grow brighter and more concentrated. And light, in the spiritual realm, is never contained. It does not respect the artificial boundaries of physical distance. It travels, it expands, it moves outward in all directions at once, and when it is bright enough and pure enough, it begins to dissolve the darkness it encounters. Not aggressively, not through force, but simply through the truth of what it is. Darkness is not a thing in itself. It is the absence of light. And you cannot fight the absence of something by struggling with it. You can only respond to it by becoming more fully what you already are. When you commit to your own light, when you do the work of clearing and healing and grounding and raising your vibration in this season, the sheer radiance of your soul begins to work on the fog that surrounds your soulmate's perception. It does not do this by chasing them or demanding their recognition. It does this by existing, by being undeniably, luminously, unapologetically itself. The fog cannot maintain its density in the presence of that kind of sustained light, and the moment the fog begins to thin, even slightly, the part of your soulmate that has always known you, the part that feels the pull of the golden cord, even in the depths of their confusion, will feel the shift. Their soul will orient toward your light, the way all living things orient toward the sun. Not because of anything you have done or said or pursued, but because light is irresistible to the soul that was made to love it. There is a guidance that the heavens want to leave with you, as you navigate the days ahead, not as a list of rigid instructions, but as a living, breathing framework for how to hold yourself in this sacred, difficult season. The first thing that is being asked of you is to release the need to pursue them in the physical realm. This is perhaps the most difficult thing you will be asked to do, because every impulse in your human heart wants to reach out, wants to close the distance, wants to find some way to make them see you again. But sending words to someone who is spiritually blind, someone whose perception of you is currently being filtered through the distorted mirror of dark energy, will not produce the outcome you are hoping for. In this state, your words, however loving and true, will be received through the same distortion that has warped their vision. What you intend as love may be received as pressure. What you offer as clarity may arrive as confusion. The kindest, most powerful thing you can do for them right now is to allow them the space to be alone with their own soul, because it is only in that solitude that the soul's voice has any chance of being heard, above the noise of the confusion and the fear. Let your absence be a sanctuary. Let it be the quiet space in which they are left with no external input, no images of you to distort, no presence of yours for the dark energy to work with. In that quiet the soul speaks, in that quiet, the warmth they have always felt toward you, the pull they cannot explain, the love that lives deeper than any fear or wound, will begin to surface. It will rise like a tide that cannot be held back, because that is the nature of what exists between you. It does not diminish with distance. It does not evaporate in silence. It waits, patient and unwavering, in the deepest room of the heart. The second thing being asked of you is to guard your mind against the illusions of the enemy with extraordinary vigilance and tenderness. The silence will speak. It will find the places in you that are most vulnerable, the fears you have carried longest, the beliefs about yourself that you hoped would not turn out to be true, and it will whisper into those places. It will tell you that they have forgotten you. It will tell you that what you felt was one-sided. It will tell you that you imagined the depth of the connection, that you misread the signs, that you were naive to believe in something so extraordinary. These whispers are lies, but they are persuasive lies, because they wear the costume of reason, and because they echo the doubts that already live within you. When the silence speaks those lies, you do not need to argue with them. You do not need to enter into a debate with the darkness about the reality of your worth, or the validity of your connection. You need only speak truth into the space. Quietly, firmly, without drama, simply reply with what you know to be true. They are lost in a fog, and the light within me will guide them home. This is not a denial of the pain you are feeling. It is a choice about which voice you will amplify in your own inner world. The pain is real, and it is allowed to be there. But the truth is also real, and it is infinitely more powerful than the pain, and every time you choose to speak it, you are doing something significant. You are refusing to feed the darkness. You are choosing, in the most practical spiritual sense, whose kingdom you are going to build your house in. The third thing being asked of you is to shift the nature of your prayers. And this is a shift that may surprise you. Instead of praying merely for their return, instead of focusing your spiritual energy on the outcome you want in the physical realm, pray for their sight to be restored. Pray that the scales fall from their eyes. Pray that the dark energy blocking their perception is shattered by the divine light that has authority over all lower frequencies. This shift in focus is not incidental, it is crucial. When you pray for their return, your prayer is oriented toward what you want and what you are missing, and while those longings are completely understandable, they carry a frequency of lack, of emptiness, of something missing that needs to be filled. But when you pray for their spiritual healing, for the restoration of their sight, for the dissolution of the fog that is causing them such profound confusion and suffering, your prayer is oriented toward love in its purest form. It is a prayer that is entirely for their benefit. And prayer of that quality, rooted in love that has released the need to control the outcome, moves through the heavens with extraordinary force. Pray also for yourself in this season. Pray not only that you will survive this silence, but that you will be transformed by it. Pray for the healing of your own wounds, the clearing of your own energetic field, the deepening of your own rootedness in the truth of who you are. Pray for the kind of peace that does not depend on external confirmation. Pray for the patience to trust a timeline that is not yours to set. These prayers are not resignation, they are power. They are the prayers of someone who understands that the deepest work of love is always interior before it is exterior, always spiritual before it is physical, always rooted in truth before it can manifest in form. The cloud will not hang over your connection forever. We need you to receive this not as comfort only but as fact. Light is the absolute truth of the universe. It is what everything in existence is made of at its most fundamental level. Darkness is not its equal. It is not its opposite in the sense of being equally powerful, equally permanent, equally real. Darkness is the temporary absence of light, and it exists only so long as the light has not yet arrived to fill the space. The moment your soulmate surrenders to the inner calling of their heart, the moment they stop fighting the pull of what they feel in their soul, and allow it to override what their wounded mind is telling them, the illusion will crack. It will not crack slowly, it will shatter. Because that is what illusions do when they meet truth. They do not dissolve gradually and gracefully. They break apart, suddenly and completely, and in the space where the illusion was, there is only light and recognition, and the most profound relief of returning home. They will look at you once more. The stranger's face that the darkness has been projecting onto your image will melt away. It will dissolve like ice in warm water, leaving no trace, because it was never real, and what they will see when the illusion clears, is what has always been there, what was always there even when they could not see it. They will see you, the real you, the you they knew before they knew you in this lifetime, the you they made a contract with in the highest realms. Before either of you descended into these bodies, and forgot the fullness of what you are to each other, they will see the face that is more familiar to them than their own face in the mirror. The presence that is more home to them than any physical place they have ever lived in, the soul that is more intimately known to them than any other soul they have ever encountered in all their years of living. And in that moment of recognition, every second of this silence will be understood, not justified in the sense of acceptable or painless, but understood, held within a context, so much larger than the pain, that the pain itself becomes transformed into something that contributed to the depth of what you will have together. The wilderness, through which you are walking right now, will reveal itself to have been the preparation for an arrival. The darkness through which you are moving will show itself to have been the space in which you developed the strength and the clarity and the rootedness in yourself that your love was always going to require of you. Be patient, dear soul. We know that word lands differently depending on where you are in your pain. For some of you reading this, patience feels like an insult, like being told to wait quietly, for something you have already been waiting for, longer than you know how to bear. For some of you, patience feels like a luxury available only to those who are not actively drowning in this silence. We hear that. We see you in the fullness of where you are, not where we wish you were, or where we think you should be. And from that seeing we say again, be patient, not because your pain is small, or your waiting has been short, but because what is coming toward you, through the dissolving fog is worth every second of this darkness. Because the version of your connection that awaits on the other side of this interference, is more beautiful, and more solid, and more real than anything the darkness could ever destroy, because the person who will look at you with clear eyes, when this season is done, will be capable of a depth of love and recognition that they were not yet capable of, before the fog came and forced them to develop the spiritual sight to see you with their soul. Breathe in our peace. Let it fill the places in you that are tight with anxiety and hollow with grief. Let it move through you like warm light, reaching into the corners, dissolving the coldness, reminding every cell of your body that you are held, that you are loved by something infinitely large and wise and benevolent, that you are not navigating this alone, even when the silence makes you feel that aloneness so acutely that it seems like the only truth in the universe. Warp yourself in our comfort. Let it be the coat you wear through this wilderness, the warmth that keeps you moving forward when your feet want to stop, the light that keeps you oriented when the path goes dark. Our comfort is not the comfort of false promises or wishful thinking. It is the comfort of absolute knowledge, the knowledge that you and this person were woven together before you were born, that the thread between you is held in hands that do not drop what they hold, that the love which exists between your souls is a living, permanent, undefeatable truth that no frequency of darkness has ever in all of existence been able to extinguish. Know that you are never walking this path alone. Not for 1 second, not in the deepest silence of the night when the grief rises like a tide, not in the moments of doubt when the darkness's whispers seem loudest, not in the stretches of waiting that feel as though they will never end. You are accompanied by presences that love you with a love that is beyond the capacity of human language to fully describe. You are surrounded by the energy of everything in the universe that is aligned with your highest good. You are seen, known, held, and guided in ways that are always operating in your life. Whether or not you can feel them in any given moment, the universe is already moving. It does not wait for your permission or your belief. It does not require you to have your fear perfectly managed or your faith fully intact. It is already in motion, already working on the conditions that will bring about the clearing you and your soulmate need, already orchestrating the circumstances, the moments of inner silence, the cracks in the fog, the small surrenders that will accumulate into the large surrender that breaks the illusion open completely. The stars are being moved, the frequencies are being shifted, the dark energy that has settled over your soulmate's perception is already being addressed by forces that operate in realms beyond the reach of any lower frequency. Your only work is to tend to yourself in the meantime, to keep your light burning, to refuse the darkness's invitation to despair, to stand in the truth of who you are with such steadiness and such grace, that when the fog finally clears, when your soulmate's eyes find yours again with full recognition, you will be exactly who you have always been, rooted in yourself, overflowing with the love that has always been your truest nature, ready to receive the return of the one who has always been coming back to you. They are coming, dear soul, they are already on their way home, even if the fog has not yet thinned enough for either of you to see it. The light between you is stronger than the darkness around them. The love between you is older and more powerful than any interference this earthly plane can generate. The golden cord that connects your hearts is, and has always been, and will always be, unbreakable. Hold on, hold your light, hold your knowing. The universe is already moving the stars to clear the way.